I'm going to show you the classic Hearthstone package, the initial game that released in 2014, with one exception, which is Curse of Naxxramas. An adventure is also added to this. The reason why is because I'm going to show you, or not show you because I can't, but I'm going to go through the first ever world championship for Hearthstone. Now, let me explain to you what this year was like. Hearthstone came out, it was in closed beta before this, and then a couple months later, they dropped an adventure. Do you want to take a guess on what an adventure was?
On what an adventure was?
Yes.
A couple months after the release, they dropped an adventure. I'm going to guess an expansion set.
It kind of is like an expansion. An expansion would drop a significant amount of cards, like 100 and something at the time. I don't even remember what it was. I think it's above 100 for Goblins versus Gnomes, the first expansion. An adventure was a lot less of cards. The reason they called it an adventure is because it's basically like a solo campaign that you got to do. And as you did them and you unlocked more battles, you unlocked cards, and they would release it week by week, which was honestly really interesting because it changed the meta every single time more cards were added to the game.
That sounds sick.
It was very cool. I really wish they would do more stuff like this. They haven't done one in a very long time, but I understand it does take a lot of more work because you have to create the story, the voice acting, etc. So for the World Championship, we had the base Hearthstone set, and then we had Curse of Naxxramas. Now, I'm going to say this before we even get into this. Curse of Naxxramas was a very impactful set. Even though it was a lot of it was not a huge amount of cards, I should say, sorry. There were some cards that were very significant in here. So I'm going to show you cards that were actually played in the World Championship of Hearthstone, or they weren't, and your goal is to tell me, was it good, was it top 8, or was it final 2? That's what we're going with. Now, if you say top 8, that does not include final 2 because that's not fair, and vice versa. If you say final 2, that doesn't count top 8.
Okay.
I'm going to start you off with a very, very interesting minion.
Oh god. Okay, so Chillwind Yeti is a 4-mana 4/5. Hearthstone development was cheap back in the day. In Magic, we have flavor text. They just put some stuff from a book on there, or they come up with some random lore. This is just like, you just look at my blankness. You look at nothing and you like it.
The flavor text is in the collection itself. It's not printed on the card.
Okay. Yeah. Again,
that's what it looks like.
I'm cutting some corners right there, man. I'm telling you.
For sure.
I'm telling you. This is such a troll move to start. Like, this is absolute BS. Like, how I'm going to learn nothing from this. I'm going to learn nothing about the classes. I know nothing about if a 4/5 stat line for 4 is good. The fact that you show it to me makes me wonder.
This is a good baseline. This is a really good baseline.
I mean, it sets the tone, but I am in the dark on this one. You said that how I have to rate these. What you said is that there's good, there's top 8, and there's final 2. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's top 2, which means they were played in the finals. There's top 16. As what I'll say, I'll do top 16 to even help you out.
Okay, top 16, sure.
Top 16. If it was a good card, or if it was unplayable.
Okay, so there's also unplayable, and good just means it's fine, but it didn't make the top of. It wasn't the best.
It wasn't in the top 16. It wasn't in the top 16.
Okay. Oh, so this is such. The fact that you even put this here, right, is. You've got to look back and you have to think of how old school games were played, right? And that not every class was probably filled out, right? There were just spots in the curve where you probably just needed something, and you looked to your generic cards, your class-free cards, and you just found, what is the best thing I can do in this spot that gets me to my 5s and my 6s, or that gets me towards the end game I'm looking for? And that's where a card like Chillwind Yeti could fill a role. But in any kind of a larger game or a modern context, you wouldn't even start here. Like, it would take like the perfect mix of bad removal or something.
Hold on. I will even give you more context here, just so you're aware.
Oh, good. Good.
Classic cards, there was not a ton. Each class got 25. There was 157. So you definitely had to run neutrals in classic. Absolutely. The question now becomes, was Chillwind Yeti a card that you actually wanted to play?
Why would you show me this card if not? There are probably a million what we would call vanilla minions. There are probably like 3-mana 2/2s and things like that all over the place. Maybe there's some meme potential on this card I don't understand from back in the day. Like, if I don't know. Magic has one of those. I might show it to you someday, but one of those very generic cards that people laugh when they see it because of what it is. But I mean, if a competitor like me can run a Mesa Falcon, a 2-mana 1/1 flyer, then surely somebody in the Hearthstone world was showing up with the chillwind yeti. I think the fact that you showed it to me, the metagame, means that it's like a top 16 card. So where do I land on this? I'm gonna go with good. I'm gonna land on good.
Good. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what class it was played in because I feel like that's going to give away too much. Okay. But Chillwind Yeti was a top 2 Hearthstone card. It was in the final, the top 2 finals.
Oh my God.
Dare I add to you, by the way, that the winner who won the championship won with a Chillwind Yeti.
There was no way I could have ever got this. You know that. You know that. There's no way. Oh my God. What kind of a maniac would moonshot that in the dark, in context? What was it known going in that it was the nuts? Were like people like, I'm gonna give you an
angry face for that one.
I am angry. That is appropriate. But were people going into this tournament metagaming, like looking at removal options and being like, well, this does 4 damage to the board, but it doesn't kill their Chillwind Yeti, so it's unplayable, right?
Chillwind Yeti as a 4-mana 4/5 was a pretty good stat line that often could 2 for 1. It was a pretty good minion just to play in your deck.
Shade of Naxxramas is a 3-mana 2/2 undead with stealth. At the start of your turn, gain +1/+1.
Ignore the undead tag because they just add that in for later. But just to remind you, stealth means that you cannot target the card until that card attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So this will stay stealth until whatever class wants to attack.
Oh, so and this is also neutral, so anybody can play it.
Yes,
and
anyone can run it.
If you don't attack with it, you can just let it keep growing and growing until you use it.
Yes, for sure.
Ooh, yeah, that seems like it could compete with Chillwind Yeti for a spot in a deck. Now everything gets compared to the Yeti.
You will. That's why I'm for the first.
Oh my God. This card seems really good next to the freaking Yeti. It seems really good. But obviously there's a context I'm missing. You know, there's something I haven't seen yet, which you alluded to. It feels like if the Yeti made the finals, this could also be in a deck. I mean, it doesn't take too much. It could also be top 2. I think I gave the Yeti good on stat line. I think this is better overall, but obviously there's something I'm missing. I'll learn it at some point. I'm going to give this top 16.
Top 16.
Yes.
Chillwind Yeti, just for the record, was played in the exact same deck as Shade of Naxxramas.
Okay.
Shade of Naxxramas was in the finals and won the championship as well. For the same class, by the way, I will not tell you what class that is yet. I need to make sure that context is not given to you yet, because I haven't shown you any class cards.
Understood.
Now, the real question becomes, how many copies do you think they ran of Chillwind Yeti and Shade of Naxxramas? You can have a maximum of 2.
Oh, I mean, obviously from the phrasing, it's 1 Shade of Naxxramas and 2 Chillwind Yetis, obviously, right?
The winners, whoever won the finals, again, I'm not going to say the name in case you know who it is. They put 2 in both their decks.
Okay, 2 of each.
2 copies in the same deck, sorry.
Siphon Soul is 6 mana for destroy a minion, restore 3 health to your hero. Ooh, removal. That's really expensive for removal. Like this is like an MTG limited card. Like it would see no play. See no play. It's so expensive to kill one thing. 3 health is nice, but it's so expensive. This is like, you're not even happy if you're spending this and killing a Chillwind Yeti, you know? You're not happy.
It's miserable.
You got rate killed by the Yeti. This has to be unplayable. So how many of these can be played in a deck? 2.
Unless it's a legendary, it's 1.
It's 2.
So every other
it's
card
either 2 or 1. There's got to be enough better cards than this. There has to be better ways to like manage the board. This is unplayable.
Siphon Soul was from Warlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am a Warlock connoisseur.
Okay.
It is my favorite class in the game of all time. And good for me, this was in the winners finals as well.
Unbelievable. This is insane. These cards are crazy. Okay.
This is a really good contextual clue for you.
Yes.
That removal in Hearthstone in Classic was pretty bad.
Okay.
There wasn't great removal. There was some pretty nifty combos, don't get me wrong. But there was, depending on what class you are, you didn't have a lot of great options.
Pint-sized Summoner is 2 mana for a 2/2. And it says the first minion you play each turn costs 1 less. Okay, this is neutral. I mean, this card looks actually decent. This is kind of a mana dork in Magic. It just comes out, gives you cost reduction while it's on the board, lets you jump ahead of your opponent. Like, this seems like, especially in the format we're talking about, this seems like a very playable card. Gosh, given the cards you've shown me already, I want to say this is a top 2 card. It seems so much better than those. And you've been hitting.
What is it?
You love to do this. You love to go on a streak at the front of just be like, look what was in the finals. Look what was in the finals. Look what was in the finals. And then you yank it out from under me. You can play your Yeti sooner.
You could. Maybe that's why Yeti was playable, because you played on turn 3.
Oh my God. I think context less. If this was the first card I saw, I would have said top 16 card, but maybe finals card. I'll go with finals card. I'll go with it. Top 2.
Okay, so I hate to do this to you.
This
card was unplayable.
Why? What? This is unplayable? What?
So
what's wrong with this?
Okay, where do I even begin? I guess the real problem with the pint-sized summoner is it didn't usually live at 2 health. If it was at 2-3, it would have been insane. But at 2 health, I think it was just understated enough that in a standard metagame, you would never see this get played.
Oh my goodness.
And no one brought it.
This meta is something. This is something. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Ooh, all right, I gotta get to work.
Doesn't it blow your mind that Yeti was final 2 and that
It does. I'm kind of more pumped about it because it means that it's not as straightforward as it looks. So Fire Elemental, 6 mana, 6/5, 6-pack of abs. Battle Cry, deal 3 damage. Is that 3 damage to anything of your choice or random?
Anything of your choice. You can hit your face, you can hit your own minions, your opponents, anything you wanted.
But you choose?
You choose.
I feel like I have seen very few cards from Shaman.
I don't pick Shaman too often.
This card looks good, but I mean, it looks fine. Looks playable. But for 6 mana, let's see, for 6 mana, we were using the spell that destroys anything, like any minion. And the 2 mana 2/2 rampy thing dies too easy, but the 4 mana 4/5 doesn't. And in the chillwind Yeti meta, Fire Elemental isn't terrible, but it's not great. I can't believe we're already doing this. All right. If the shade comes down on 2 at the start of your next turn, it's a 3, then it's a 4, then it's a 5. So yeah, the Fire Elemental doesn't hit that either. Like, it's a perfectly good rate creature, but it doesn't seem great next to these other cards. So I'm going to guess top 16.
Okay, so Shaman was pretty popular throughout the Hearthstone World Championship. And this card was a top 16 card.
I'm on the board.
You're on the board. So this is actually a pretty good context clue for you as well, that Shaman was not in the top 2 whatsoever. Unfortunately for you, I'm not showing you any other Shaman card.
Oh, well,
that's
so helpful. Thank you. Oh my God.
You're so welcome.
Lay on hands. That's a way to phrase it. 8 mana, restore 8 health, and draw 3 cards. Oh God. 8 mana, 8 health, 3 cards. Ooh. This is, it's one of those things, like, back in the day, maybe this was good enough. Nowadays, it's not. Like, it gives me flashbacks of Sphinx's Revelation, a card in Magic that I just loved. But that drew cards and gained life at the same number. And it was how much mana you pour into it, right?
Oh,
this is 3 cards, 8 health. Normally cards over health by a lot. Was there a better way to draw 3? Nothing you've shown me is drawing cards. Like, this could be the rate monster of the format.
Very intentional, by the way. Very intentional.
There's no way. It's so expensive. But I like control decks in the day. If it was hard to push damage, sometimes restoring 8 is like drawing cards. If it gets you to, if you survive 3 more turns and you drew 3 more cards because you survived those 3 more turns, it's like drawing 3 cards. This has to be unplayable. And because I think it's unplayable, I'm gonna go with good. I bet it was played in a priest deck, but I bet it wasn't played in the best priest decks, or priest wasn't that playable. Paladin. My bad. I bet it was played in some paladin decks, but not the best ones, or there was no best the best paladin deck wasn't that good. I'm guessing it's one of those.
Okay, so Lay on Hands was a classic card. I've only shown you one card from Curse of Naxxramas, but we're talking about the first World Championship here.
Mm-hmm.
Lay on Hands was played and it was in the top 16 of the tournament. Now,
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you this. Paladin was one of the lowest classes played in the tournament. In fact, it was only played one more than the bottom class, which I'm not going to tell you because I want you to guess what it is. Paladin was like Shaman in the sense that it kind of just did everything, but it wasn't really great at anything. It was good at playing for board. That's the one thing that it was really known for because it had Divine Shield. Divine Shield, as you probably know, is just like taking, like if the next damage it would take, you don't take any of it, which could be really relevant. Paladin's biggest problem was that other classes just did stuff better than it.
All right. Next card is Mountain Giant. This is 12 mana for an 8/8, and it costs 1 less for each other card in your hand. Neutral? Each card in your hand. And how many cards go in your hand?
You got 10 cards in your hand.
You can get
you
up
have
to
10 cards max.
But
so the lowest this can cost, if you're going to play it, I believe is 3.
let's try to look like towards the middle. So if it gets towards the middle of the game, and you haven't played a bunch of card draw spells, say you have like 4 or 5 cards in hand, you still have to play this. It still costs like 7 mana, 8 mana. It's still really expensive. So it's actually getting close to just like a break even on the rate. Oh my gosh, I don't want this card to be good. At the same time, it would be good if if you found the way to do the card draw. And you showed me the Warlock power, like you can life tap it up, just keep tapping. Good seems to be a trap. Nothing appears to be good. See, there's been an unplayable. I really want this to be unplayable. Like my gut says it's unplayable. And yet early Hearthstone, what were you? What the hell? Top 16 card. Let's go.
Top 16. Are you just saying that because you felt like it's not good enough to be top 2, or you think it's just bad and then therefore you want to go up?
It's bad and we're going up to the moon. I don't know.
Okay.
There's got to be something that can take advantage
What
of
if this is the first good card and you're not going for it?
There's no way this like no.
Okay, so
the
top
Yeti
16?
Meta, this ain't the rate.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Top 16?
I said it. I'm sticking with it. Let's do it. Top 16. Show me top 16.
So let me give you context on Warlock. Warlock was arguably one of the best classes in the game strictly because of their hero power. Soul or life tap, when card draw, after I showed you Lay on Hands, was at a all-time abysmal rate. Having the ability to hit 2 mana and draw a card and take 2 damage was insane. It was the best hero power in the game other than one other. And often Warlock was just played because of that ability to life tap. And it continued to see like life tap was fundamental for Warlock's class for a very long time. Now card draws out like a premium, so it's not, or it's so easy to get card draw in your deck that it may not be as useful. Mountain Giant was a top 2 deck.
Okay.
And a deck called Handlock.
Let's go big guy.
Handlock's whole idea was if you're not an aggro deck, you're tapping turn 2, turn 3, and you're playing a giant on turn 4.
Wow.
That was the goal. That was literally a win condition for Warlock because some decks just didn't have removal for it.
Stranglethorn Tiger is a 5 mana 5/5 stealth beast neutral. That's it.
That's it.
Shere Khan over here coming at you. Good old tiger. Just you put 5 mana into this and you're gonna get something. It's not like if there's a board clear, does it remove it?
Yes. Like if you could AoE it down, you can kill it. You have to do 5 damage.
It doesn't feel like the board clears can be that good from what we've seen. It just doesn't feel like it. So most of the time you put 5 mana into this, you're going to get 5 to do something. Can you like buff up? Does this like get buffed if it's on the board and you use like board buffs while it's stealth before it attacks and stuff? Does it get bigger?
Yeah. You can still, you can target it. You can.
You can target it. They can't.
You can target it.
It seems pretty good. Like if the shade is a finals is like a top card, this might also be like the rate is comparable. It's just later in the game, but obviously if a 4/5 is getting play, a 5/5 can see play. There has to be a reason that you played the Chillwind Yeti instead of this, right? That's a 4. That's a 4. When we say top 2 deck, we're actually talking about 8 decks. Four on each side. 4 on each side. And I haven't seen some of the classes yet. So I should be picking probably top 2, final 2 more than I think I should be. And this card seems like doable rate compared to the others. It's like you're going to get your damage in. I'm going to say this is a top 2 card.
Okay, Stranglethorn Tiger was played in one class and one class only, and that is Hunter. Unfortunately, during this World Championship, Stranglethorn Tiger was not a top 2 card, but surprisingly, it was a top 16 card, which some people might be very surprised by that.
Okay.
Because the card, like, I wouldn't really call it that good comparatively to other cards that were released in Curse of Naxxramas. There was a better 5-drop called Sludge Belcher. I'm not going to show you Sludge Belcher in this, but that card kind of power crept in Loatheb, right? Compare this card to Loatheb, by the way, in case you're curious. Loatheb, by the way, that's why I showed you Loatheb this time. Loatheb was fucking insane.
God, I keep forgetting about that card. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's sick.
So this card, the fact that this card was in the top 16 though is pretty amazing. Most people are not going to be ready for that. This was played by a guy named Green Sheep. I don't remember him, unfortunately, but congrats to that guy for running this in the top 16.
Okay, yeah. Congrats. You did it with the Taiga. Very beautiful. Kel'thuzad is 8 mana for a 6/8 undead. At the end of each turn, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. Oh, dang.
Okay, I'm going to give you just one thing.
Okay.
If it's your opponent's turn and your minions die and this card still stays alive, you get to resummon all of your minions.
Yep.
If you randomly generate this card, I don't know if there's a way to do it in Classic. The turn that your minions die, all your minions come back.
Like off a death rattle or something?
Off a death rattle or something, yeah. All your minions would come back.
Hey, this card's sick. Is it good? Is it good? There's also that dream, you know, the other case where you just have a board and you play this and you slam your stuff into their board, kill some of their stuff, your stuff comes back. Oh man, are there any clues in these other cards you've shown me? 8 mana. Seems like a good target for a Siphon Soul. Seems absolutely horrible if the opponent plays a Loatheb. It's just, ouch. You know what I mean? This is that kind of flashy effect. At this kind of price, this kind of flashy effect, this reads to me as bait. Like this is that kind of card, man. Like you get some players hyped during preview season and then you find out it's just too expensive and doesn't do enough. Like it works in the magical Christmas land scenarios, but they aren't that hard to play around or beat, right? And you said it. You were giving me the context. You're like, I don't think there was a way in classic Hearthstone to get this. And this might get me on the thumbnail, although, I'd like to think I'll make it on my own merits.
I already got the thumbnail wrote with the first card. Man, called Yeti bad.
Called Yeti bad. I think this is bad. Bad. That's my answer. I'm gonna go with unplayable.
Okay, so this card's really interesting, right? Mm-hmm. It is the dream. It literally is the dream. Like in this card, if this card stays alive for 1 turn, it's probably already GG. But in that case, you would probably call this a win more card, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't really need it. It's not really useful. But oddly enough, when I was doing this video and I was looking at these cards, I was going to tell you that this card was okay to bad. But I did not know that there was a player who played Paladin who brought Kel'Thuzad that made it into the top 16.
Motherfucker. God, yeah.
This is from Run and Gun, in case anyone's curious.
Oh, no.
Now, here's the thing.
The Mad Lad.
Was Kel'Thuzad a reason that he won a game? I couldn't tell you. I'm not going to go watch the VODs. All I know is he's in the necklace.
But it's there.
It's there.
He foiled me.
And he made it.
I thought I had a good analysis. He foiled me. All right. Oh, God. Injured Blademaster. That's me. Let's see. 3 mana for a 4/7 with Battle Cry. Deal 4 damage to himself.
That's why he's injured.
It sure is. So this is... This is a 3 mana 4/3.
This is a 3 mana 4/3.
Unless you dodge 3 mana 4/7. Unless you dodge Battle Cry, like there are ways to. I've learned there are ways to put stuff just onto the battlefield, create stuff, and then you dodge the Battle Cry. It's pretty good. I could see it being a good card. I could also, now that I've seen some of the stuff just thrown into top 16, anything's a top 16 card. Can I rate it unplayable and a top 16 card? Like, can I do things like that?
Sure. Sure. If you want to, go for it.
I'm going to consider that for the future. I actually think it seems like toughness is better. That's the thing that I'm looking at. Like a 4/3, it feels like you'd rather have a 3/4. I'm going off the Yeti, for example. I'm going off Fire Elemental being able to kill this thing. But there are ways to cheat it, man. There's ways to scam. There's ways to scam 7 toughness. But then what do you have? You have 7 toughness. Whatever, big deal. God, did this make the top 2 as well? An unplayable top 16.
Unplayable top 16. Just so I know, what's your definitive answer?
I'm not. I'll go with top 16. Somebody played this stupid card.
Okay. Injured Blademaster. One of the coolest cards, I think, in Classic Hearthstone because of the way it interacted with one of the classes, which is Priest. Priest has the ability to heal its minions as its hero power. Now, obviously, you don't know that. That's also not the reason why you would play this. Priest also has another card called Circle of Healing, which is 0 mana, heal all minions by 4. So you could play Blademaster, heal it, and then you have a 4/7 on board. Now, I know it may come as a shock, but a 4/7 in Classic went insane. Yeah. It rivaled the Yeti.
Omega booty.
It was so fucking annoying to deal with. And if you couldn't deal with it and it was just constantly trading and it was healing the priest was healing it over and over again every single turn, it would just translate to a snowball. You just get fucking rolled, man. Injured Blademaster was in the top 2.
Doing so good. Okay. I am fine. This is fine. That card looks sick. Faceless Manipulator. 5 mana, 3/3 battlecry. Choose a minion and become a copy of it. Any minion?
Any minion.
For 5?
Your opponent's yours. For 5.
In any class, huh?
Any class you wanted.
God, I'm looking at these minions and some are good and some are bad. It could be a Yeti. Could definitely be a Yeti.
It could be a Yeti.
Apparently could be a Kel'thuzad in top 16.
It's gonna all you.
Be kind of a funny thing. It's not really like cards like this, clones, like we call them in Magic, aren't about playing this on curve. It's about playing it like later in the game and copying something that the opponent spent their whole turn on, so that you can basically have what they had and then also use your remaining mana to get ahead, deal with the thing that they played or deal with their board in some other way, and also get the thing they spent a lot on. And those are really good Magic tempo plays.
Yeah.
5 is a juicy amount for it. In Magic, we'd want to see that at 4, or in competitive terms, 3 or 2. 5 is a lot, but this was early Hearthstone. Is this... I'm going to say there's got to be a class that wants this, that this is the spot for it, and that you want your Battlecry effects. I'm going to say this is a top 2 card.
Oh, okay. Top 2 card would actually be correct.
Yes, we're doing it.
The one thing that Faceless Manipulator had going for it is a card called Leeroy Jenkins. Most of the time.
Okay.
Now
that's in Classic, huh?
Faceless Manipulator was often just played as another big minion, like another taunt, for instance. Like the play pattern generally for Handlock was you would play a mountain giant and then you would taunt it. So if you got a Faceless Manipulator with a giant with taunt, you were pretty happy with that most of the time. Yeah. Some people would go for the Leeroy Jenkins combo. Now, I told you in the Magic video that it was 5 mana. In OG Classic Hearthstone, it was 4 mana. Now, I don't remember at the time. Yeah, he's pretty fucking sick. I don't remember. I think it was nerfed before the World Championship came out to 5 mana. People still ran Leeroy Jenkins as 5 mana. But I just want to tell you the story because it felt so good to do in Standard Hearthstone, or in Classic Hearthstone that's Handlock. There's a card called Power Overwhelming, which is 1 mana, give a minion +4/+4, and it dies at the end of the turn. So you would go Leeroy Jenkins, Power Overwhelming, Faceless Manipulator, hit him for 20 from your hand, and it would end careers.
Wow. So out of nowhere win.
Out of nowhere and win. Which is extremely funny. Which is extremely funny.
So like if they life tapped enough, you didn't even have to do any other damage to them.
That's also true. I was gonna say that life tap really helped you draw towards this combo, which was nice.
Yeah, let's play it in life tap too.
That's also the case. Yeah, there's just dude, it's so funny to when that used to happen. Now, Leeroy was rotated in 2019. No, 2020. They rotated him because they didn't want him to exist when Demon Hunter was released. Thank God they had the foresight to do that. I think Hearthstone would have died if that was the case. They brought him back this year, and at 5 mana, Leeroy is still basically being played if you can manage to buff him a little bit, or you could shadow step him, which I believe I've showed you before.
Hand of Protection. Give a minion Divine Shield, 1 mana. Okay. Paladin. What do we know about Paladin? About Paladin? Let's see. We know that Lay Hands made top 16. Oh my God. That's not helpful. I feel like I know nothing. We know it's the second lowest class played. We know it's not a finals card. We know the hero power summoned to 1/1. None of this is relevant, I think, to a divine shield. When you compare it to creatures that just come in and have stealth, it's not that good. But the fact that you can put it on something with way better stats or some ability that takes advantage is really good. I'm also might be overvaluing Divine Shield because of my time playing Battlegrounds recently, where it just felt like Divine Shield was being thrown around like candy. You get Divine Shield and you get Divine Shield, you know? Like, what the hell? Everything just shows up with a Divine Shield, it felt like. So it, at the best, it could be top 16. Did the top 16 deck play this? I have no hints of that. The deck that was in top 16 hasn't showed me anything I'd want to put this on. I mean, good is such a cop-out. So, like, go extreme, unplayable. I don't even.
Good is a cop-out.
I don't actually believe that. That's the thing.
What do you believe?
No, I do believe that. Unplayable. It should be 0, or it should draw a card, or it should something. It's like, is it worth the spot? Is it worth the mana? I haven't seen anything to convince me of that. I'm going with unplayable.
You're right. I was unplayable.
Thank God. Okay.
Maybe in like very, very early classic, it saw someone of play, but it was cut pretty quickly. There was just no reason to do this. And if you top decked it and you only had like your hero power, you were pretty upset about it.
Yeah. Brawl. This is 5 mana to destroy all minions except one that is chosen randomly.
Now, I want to set the stage for you for 1 sec. Kel'thuzad's on board. You play the Brawl.
Shut up.
All right.
Shut up. Just
Kel'thuzad lives.
Just stop. You did it. You definitely did it. If you don't win that game, you're a meme forever. But you told me that Kel'thuzad was in, God, what was it?
He's neutral.
Oh yeah, but what deck was he in the top 16 in? He was in one, and it was one of the P's, Paladin, I think.
It was Paladin.
And this is Warrior, so that didn't make top 16 or top 2. The Brawl strat, at least. But did Brawl make top 16 in something else? Did it make the finals in something else? Yeah, Brawl. The random thing is tilting, because this would be unplayable because of that, like in Magic, just because of the absolute fail state, right? You miss the important card. In Magic, a lot of the cards are so powerful, by the way, that like sometimes you have to Wrath just one. You have to AoE just one if they play a strong enough card, and this just would do nothing for you.
Yeah, I think this is a really good embodiment of what classic Hearthstone was.
Right.
Like good cards where sometimes the RNG would fuck you and other times it would win you the game.
That's the thing. You haven't shown me any evidence that there are ways to kill all the things on the board potentially. And
I've not.
This is a card that has a chance to do that. I'm guessing the very existence of this card and the lack of other cards around it and the lack of other warrior cards would tell you that this is a rare effect. This is not normal. Like, this is probably something that draws people to the class, is the chance that you can flip an unwinnable position. Is this a top 2 card? I think this is a top 2 card. I'm going with it.
Okay. Warrior was one of the best classes in classic Hearthstone. And during naxxramas, it got 2 really powerful cards. Brawls from classic. Unfortunately, and I'm honestly very surprised looking at the deck list, Warrior didn't hit top 2. It was top 16, but it was not top 2. And almost every single Warrior was control, and Brawl was a must play card in control Warrior.
Okay.
It was really, really good. I'm going to give you a little bit more funny story, or a little bit more context of current Hearthstone. This card is still in standard. It has never left the game. It has always been a core part of Warrior's identity, Brawl. How much mana do you think how much mana do you think it costs today?
I'll go with 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same.
It is the same.
Okay.
It is the same. This effect arguably has been, I know it looks really like weird, but it's always been really good.
Silence. 0 mana. Silence a minion. What does that mean?
That means any text that is on the card, including buffs that you would add to it, are silenced. They are gone. They are on the card, but they are silenced, as in they no longer apply to the minion anymore. That being said, if you apply a buff afterwards, that buff will now apply because the silence was before that buff.
All right. What do we know about Priest? Consulting the notes, it heals things. Okay. Its hero power heals things. It's in the top 2. Did the top 2 deck play silence? So the text box is removed. Its stats stay the same.
Yes, stats would stay the same. If there's a buff and you silence it, it would go back to like the base stats. Yeah.
But
other
the
than that,
Yeti is a 4/5.
The Yeti, if you silence the Yeti, it's staying a 4/5. As long as it hasn't taken any damage.
This is the meta. This is what they were doing. They were playing around silence with the Yeti. If the text box is irrelevant, what good is a 4-mana 3/4 best ability in the world if it's just going to get silenced? You're better off playing a Yeti. Oh my God. This is why. This is the context. We found it. This card's top 2. This card's top 2. This is the meta.
Are you saying that?
Yeah.
Are you saying that to me?
No, we solved the meta. There's a top 2 card. There's got to be text boxes worth removing. I think this card is fine. Like, I think it's decent. I think there are places where you would like sideboard play something like this in Magic. You would rather it drew a card. You would rather it replace itself. But there are plenty of minions whose effect on the game is more about their text box than necessarily their stats, at least in Magic. I assume in a Hearthstone that's got to be the case sometimes, but for me it does in some ways explain the Yeti. And my brain, Rarran, needs to explain this Yeti. I need to understand. And I'm going to cling to something that is even a chance of greater understanding of the Yeti. So silence, top 2, write it down.
Okay, you are right. It is top 2, but it has nothing to do with the Yeti.
Of course whatsoever. It does. Call him up. Who's the champ?
Silence was actually really good. It was something that a lot of classes did not have access to. In fact, there was a card called Ironbeak Owl, which was a neutral minion people ran just to have the silence. And some of the effects were really powerful. For instance, there's a card called Sylvanas Windrunner, which when she died, you would take control of a random enemy minion. That was a pretty good effect. You did want to silence that in some cases. I am still shocked to see that it was in top 2. But the mindset behind it was, if I need to silence a minion to get past it to do something better, that's what he used it for. He ran 1 in the top 2.
Got him.
Did get there.
That still counts as 1.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Let's go.
I thought you would have looked at this card and went, no shot.
Nah.
No shot.
That's
no shot.
Like taking creature abilities. We have a card in Magic called Dress Down. It's like 2 mana. It's an instant. It's an enchantment with flash, so you can play in response to stuff. And it does draw a card, but it basically says creatures lose all abilities for 1 turn. Like, it's good. It's good. Okay, the next, I only have 3 more cards. I promise you all 3 of them are worth adding to this video. Okay. Okay, it begins. The mind games begin. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. Milhouse Mana Storm is a 2-mana 4/4 with Battle Cry. Enemy spells cost 0 next turn. Oh no. Oh no. Neutral? This is neutral. This is neutral. Neutral legendary. Neutral legendary. One of them. Is there a way? So obviously, elephant in the room. Opponent spells costing 0 means you're fucked. Or is it the case? I mean, it feels like the case. How many cards do they have in their hand on turn 2? If you're going first, you have 4 if they didn't play a card, typically. If you're going second, you would have 1 extra. Oh, God, typically. No. Just can't. No way. Like, if they had 2 cards, even then, it's terrifying. So, the question is, cheat the Battle Cry. Or some way to, like, transform it. This stat line is obviously unique for Hearthstone at this time. 2-mana 4/4 doesn't appear like it happens at all. Yeah. So, God, is there any clues, any hero powers, anything I've missed here that's like somehow puts this into play without triggering it? I feel like there has to be. I feel like you also said there is a reason you're showing me this. At this stage in the game, I don't think you're just going to show me something and be like, haha, that's unplayable, you idiot. How could you think that's good? I know it's unplayable. There must be something. What does your heart tell you? That this is absolute trash. That this is a disaster. That no one would do this. Why would anyone do this? No one would do it. No, 100%. You're right. I hate this so much. I can't imagine. There's got to be a way. It's got to be a way to cheat with this. This has to be a scam. Yeti is a 4-mana 4/5. You're getting 1 less health for 2 less mana. That's fucking insane. It is. It's an insane rate. But like, if they just have a Yeti, you're done. And this, oh God, you're right. That we're understanding the Yeti. We're still justifying the Yeti. What if the Yeti is there because Milhouse is meta and you need a 4/5 to drop
I'm gonna
for
save you.
free? No. It's a finals card, isn't it? Isn't it? It is, isn't it? It's a top 2 card, isn't it? Is it?
No, are you saying that? No, it's not.
I think it's trash. I was gonna. Can I say it's trash? Top 2.
It is trash. I literally put this in at the last just to like fuck with you.
Success! You have succeeded. There had to be like, I'm trying to think of a way to like summon it without summoning it. Do you know what I mean?
In classic Hearthstone, there was no way of doing that. There was actually a deck that Paladin had in the future where you would put this card in to cheat it out and you wouldn't get the battle cry because the 2-mana 4/4 was still really good. And honestly, 2-mana 4/4 in current Hearthstone would be insane. These two actually matter though, I promise that. I just had to throw that one in.
There's your thumbnail. Finals card? All right. Force of Nature, 6 mana, summon 3/2/2 Trance with charge that die at the end of the turn for 6, huh?
For 6.
I mean, it's a decent amount of damage. It's probably not as easy to buff or combo off with as Leeroy because it's just one thing to copy. This is 3/2/2s. You also can't hand buff them. If there's a way to like copy a spell though, that goes pretty crazy. I mean, it can be used defensively to just kill opponent's stuff. And Druid is always like good. That's the thing I've learned in these. It's just, it ramps. So it's not doing this on 6. It's doing this on 5 or 4. So it's ahead of your curve. That's what I've learned. What do I know about Druid from this video?
I don't think I've told you anything about Druid this video.
It's possible that you haven't told me anything about it. What do we have in the finals? We have Warlock. We have Priest. We don't have Hunter. We don't have Warrior. We don't have Paladin. So that's 3 classes that aren't there. Shaman is not in top 2. So it feels like Druid has to be. Like we're down to like 1 spot in one of the decks, even if they ran the exact same lineup. This card seems fine. Also, if there's anything that like goes off when you play when multiple minions enter the battlefield or something that buffs multiple minions, this card becomes a lot better. Let's go with top 2. I could see that.
This card is probably the most interesting card from the entire championship. Because before the championship, this card was regarded as whatever. People didn't realize, including me, including a lot of pro players, that if you use Force of Nature in combination with this card I'm going to send you, you could do 14 damage from hand out of nowhere on turn 9.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Which was absolutely disgusting. And it basically cemented Druid for a very long time as a notable win condition for the class. After the World Championship was done, every Druid deck ran this combo basically because it was absolutely disgusting. This was a top 2 card. Both players played it. Firebat, who won the World Championship, only ran 1 copy. I think if he could go back with the knowledge that he had, even though he won, he would do 2. That's how disgusting this card was. This was the biggest revelation from the World Championship series. That Force of Nature was a very, very good card. Yeah. And that was just if you had no minions on board, by the way. If you had any other minion on board, that combo just gets scarier. Nice. Like it was brutal. It was brutal.
Doomguard, 5 mana for a 5/7 demon. Charge, battlecry, discard 2 random cards. That is a very sad battle cry. Battle cry make me sad. But this is Warlock, yeah?
This is Warlock.
You said there were multiple ways to build it, and they have card draw in their hero power. If I were building that deck and I were looking at this card, and I'm guessing 5 mana for a 5/7 charge is pretty darn good. I'm looking at like the other cards out there.
It's a good stat line for sure. Yeah.
Pretty darn good, especially for charge. It seems like charge is premium. Like you usually pay up for that. All right. So if I'm building this deck, it's going to be, this is like the top end, and I'm going to play really aggressive little critters. I'm going to drop this with 1 or no cards in my hand, or maybe just a couple of dorks I don't need, discard them. And the next turn, I'm going to start life tapping, and I'm going to draw into more things, and I'm going to keep dropping them. And hopefully I hit another one of these and just rush them. I think this is good. I think this is top 2. I bet somebody ran this.
This is a top 2 card. Reynad one day decided to make a deck called Zoo Warlock on ladder. Might be the most iconic deck from classic Hearthstone. And he realized that Doomguard, if you just run like a really aggressive early game and just play this on turn 5, you don't really have a downside anymore. And then when you need to draw cards, you would just play like you just life tap.
Yeah.
And then you get more cards.
You just have it. It's right there for you.
And a 5/7 with charge was nuts. Like comparatively to Leeroy, right? Like a 6/2 that summoned 2/1/1s that your opponent can just clear the Leeroy after if it wasn't for a finisher. You could drop the Doomguard on turn 5 without worrying about winning the game just because that's a thick boy on the back. So yeah, this was a top 2 card. This was played by Firebat, who won the world championship, and Warlock had 2 defining archetypes throughout the championship, Handlock, and it was called Zoo Warlock. That was basically the rundown of the world championship. I didn't show you a couple things. I didn't show you Mage, which had a really nice freeze mage deck. I didn't show you any Rogue, but Rogue was also extremely popular because of Edwin Van Cleef, which I showed you before. If I didn't show you Edwin, I don't know if you remember Edwin. He was a 3-mana 2/2 combo, gain +2/+2 for each other card you played this turn.
Yeah, it was a while back, but yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Rogue's playstyle was either that or they would go for a Leeroy strategy as well. So I didn't really feel like I needed to show you anything. But yeah, that was basically what the World Championship was. Pretty defining moment in Hearthstone's history, of course, again, like the force of nature. Now, I'm going to explain to you why Yeti was good.
Thank you. I wasn't gonna let you off the hook. I'm literally over here like the only thing in my head while you're saying all that is, but why Yeti?
Okay, the reason why Yeti was good, and you actually identified it, you just didn't really, I guess, connect the dots. Druid ramped. Druid had a card called Wild Growth for 2 mana, which said gain an empty mana crystal. So if you played that on turn 2, you curved right into a Yeti. But also, they had this card.
Innervate, 0 mana, gain 2 mana crystals this turn only. Oh, a ritual.
So is that, I don't know what a ritual is.
In Magic, that's a term is a ritual, a card that makes more mana than it costs to cast it.
Oh, okay. This card, Innervate, I don't even know what went through their head.
Busted.
This card.
That's busted.
It was insane. And it only got better with more cards into the game. But Innervate was one of the biggest reasons why Yeti was playable as well. Because on turn 1, if you're going second, you go Innervate, coin, Yeti, you probably won that game.
It was the best stat line to just drop at that rate.
It was
because that early
good.
In the game, you don't need abilities or effects. You
don't need effects, right? You just stat it down, right? And then it curved into Wild Growth. It was the nut.
It was called. What's it called? Like Yeti Ramp? Is that the name of the deck?
No, I think it was just called
the Yeti Meta.
I think they started to call it Combo Druid because people realized Force of Nature and Savage Roar was like the win condition you needed.
Sure. Wow, Yeti. You're building your deck and you're just like, all right, I guess it's limited. What's the best rate I have it for? Because I'm playing it on turn 1. So it's fine.
It was a different time, bro.
It really was. It really was. That's cool.
One final question for you.
Yeah.
One final question. For you. I'm not gonna ask you what was the least run class because I didn't show you Mage once. Mage was the lowest. Second was Paladin at 2. What do you think the highest played class in the entire tournament for top 16?
I mean, we've just been talking about how busted Druid is. Sounds like it amazing. So that sounds like a safe pick. But you also said there are multiple ways to build Warlock. I'm guessing everybody had a Warlock deck that went one way or the other then, and some people didn't play Druid. So I'm going to guess Warlock.
Warlock is correct. Warlock's number 1. It was in 14 lineups out of 16. Druid was 5.
Wow.
5 out of 16. Because people really didn't realize how good that combo was. And one of the reasons why Firebat probably won was because him and the other guy in top 2 both realized how nuts that combo is.
So they were just dropping probably like they were like people played Druid, but they ramped and just probably dropped a big dork. And these two were like, get him dead.
Yeah, kill him. It was nuts.
Okay. Nice.